Hi, I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
And welcome to another edition of Our City Tonight.
We're standing here in Tutor, in the middle of Yale Town, at a brand new restaurant, Tutor Restaurant and Bar. This is just a great spot.
Yeah, great spot. Come check it out at the corner of Homer and Smythe. Well, coming up later in the show, as we often like to do, we're going to check out some great food right after you watch this.
We're going to start with the appetizers here with the main man, Andrea. Tell us what we have in front of us that is looking almost like a piece of art.
So this is our prosciutto and burrata pizza. Again, we like to make a Roman style, a little thinner, okay, a little crispier, opposed to the Napolitan, which is very popular. And this is less filling, so you can eat more. Pairs amazingly with a nice Chianti that we have here. And it's a wonderful dish, absolutely.
And you have a lot of other items on your appetizer list. Can you name off a few more on the appetizers?
The chef does an incredible calamaro in a puttanesca sauce. We offer oysters during happy hour as well. Lovely carpaccio for those carpaccio fans, of course, of beef. And, we have some great drinks as well that Nico, our bar manager, creates as well.
I've met Nico, he's amazing. And you have a great happy hour.
Otherwise known as aperitivo hour. That's the Italian translation. Of course, in Italy, it's very common after work. Let's go for an aperitivo. That means little bites and, of course, cocktails, right? So.
And you've got a very popular, cozy place here. What time is your happy hour from?
So we do it Monday to Thursday, 4:30 to 6. And it's a great setting. The old brick building. This is built in 1910. Just fantastic to come down, relax after work. Really a great setting.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I can certainly tell how popular it is. You guys just opened very short time ago and already got a great following. So we're going to come back and take a look at some of the delicious mains with Jim.
While we're taking a little break here at Tutor Restaurant and Bar. And Lita, we did an interview last July with a guy. This is back when we were allowed to travel. We should emphasize that to folks because we mentioned going over to Victoria. We did this in the studio at Hubcast. Who are we talking to?
We're talking to Joe Weeb of the BC Ale Trail, and he's an author.
That's right. Here we go. Joe Weeb is the thirsty writer. He's the author of Craft Beer Revolution, The Insider's Guide to BC Breweries, the definitive guidebook to British Columbia's craft beer industry, currently in its second edition. He's a writer, of course. He's the co-founder of Victoria Beer Week, and he is the content manager for BC Ale Trail. A guy knows his beer, that is for sure. Welcome to the show. It's Joe Weeb. Joe, welcome from Victoria. Lita and I have both been on the island over the last month or so for trips. You took us around the other day when I was in Victoria to some of the great beer scenes. But welcome to our show. We got lots to talk about.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
And Joe, it's just incredible, the craft beer revolution that's exploded. Tell us a little bit about BC Ale Trail and what people can expect from that.
Sure, yeah. The BC Ale Trail is a co-op marketing program that I helped start several years ago through Destination BC and the Craft Brewers Guild. And basically the idea is to promote all the craft breweries here in BC. We have such an amazing dynamic scene here to tourists, both from outside of BC and within our borders. So we have a series of itineraries. I think we have 18 different regional itineraries focusing on all the breweries in the different regions, but also the other activities you can do in those areas. So it's a self-guided thing. It's the idea is that you use it to plan your own trips, to plan your own future excursions. And we also have an app, actually. We have an app where you can check in at breweries and get reward points and cash them in for bonuses like discounts on merchandise and things like that. So yeah, it's a really great resource for craft beer lovers. Here in BC.
And Joe, just from what I've been seeing lately, and again, being in Victoria the other day, is the government relaxing a little bit? I find them a little antiquated in their thinking quite often. But it was great to see like the tasting rooms. Everybody's got a tasting room now, and they were all very busy within social distancing guidelines that we have in place now. But is it been easier than, say, 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, the government has been really supportive of the industry in general, even prior to the pandemic. They opened up the rules back in 2013 to allow breweries to open their own tasting rooms, and that really changed the industry significantly. It led to this big explosion of new breweries we've seen in the past 5-6 years. Because most of the new breweries have tasting rooms front and center where customers can go and taste the beer, and it's a really great experience, and that's largely what the BC Ale Trail is built around, driving people to go visit those breweries in person. And yeah, during the pandemic, the government's been very supportive, allowing breweries to open expanded patios outside. Whether they have a patio already or not, they've been able to do temporary things, and that's been crucial because a lot of the tasting rooms are very small, so you can't get a lot of people into them. It's been really good.
Well, like wineries, people are now planning vacations around visiting craft breweries. I know personally because we just did a trip up north end of the island, Campbell River right up to Port Hardy. But in between, we were so wonderfully surprised to see that Port McNeill was opening Devil's Bath Brewery. It's not open yet, but what do you see the future of small craft breweries? What's happening with those?
Yeah, I think it's really exciting, and that's great that you got to actually see that one, Devil's Bath. I'm waiting to visit when they open for sure. I think the future is still quite rosy. I think there's still lots of new breweries in the works, opening out in smaller communities and all over BC. Pandemic aside, I think the pandemic might slow people down a little bit as they are considering or in the process of opening a brewery, and might take a step back for a little while to wait and see what happens. But there's no real limit right now in sight. There's still lots of room in the market, especially for breweries just serving their local communities or even their neighborhoods in the cities. So I think the future looks great.
Joe Weave, I should say, is the author of Craft Beer Revolution, the Inside Guide to BC Breweries. He is also the co-founder of Victoria Beer Week and the content manager for BC Ale Trail. Joe, we appreciate you joining us from the lovely city of Victoria, and thank you very much.
And Joe, we love the shirt.
Yeah. Isn't it great? Exactly.
Thanks, Joe. We'll talk soon. Well, if you're a regular viewer of the show, you know where we are right now. We love to hang out and film a lot of stuff here at Tutor Restaurant. Come check it out in the Exchange Hotel on West Pender. We're going to get in some food in just a few seconds, but we are now joined. We've been trying to set this up for a while. It's another New Zealand Spotlight, and we're joined by Jeff Finn, who is one of the big wigs, we'll call him, with the New Zealand Food Company, and a division of that is Lamb to You. Jeff, welcome to our city tonight.
Thank you for having me.
You bet, pal.
We always hear about lamb, that it's a healthier choice, but it seems predominantly in North America, most people go for beef or chicken. We're kind of stuck on that. Why is that?
It's a very good question. It's probably from the research that we've sort of undertaken in the industry, it's a throwback to the war, where soldiers from the USA and Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia and New Zealand, they were given canned mutton. And that tastes like not so good.
Not good. Yeah.
Not good, Jim.
So that you think people remember those stories?
They do remember that, and it has a very strong smell, that mutton, and I think that's sort of been a throwback to that, yes.
Let's talk about this division of the New Zealand Food Company, Lamb to You, and that's EWE, which is am I right, female sheep, correct?
Correct.
Oh, give me the prize. Let's talk about the company. Yes, yeah, Jeff looked at me and said farmer when he saw me. Let's talk a bit about this, because one of the fascinating things, and it's been a thread through some of our New Zealand spotlights, has been that this product is cultivated on the other side of the planet, that being New Zealand, and brought here quickly but safely. So for people who have never had prime New Zealand lamb, tell us about what you guys do to make sure that the experience is unforgettable.
Sure, Jim. So predominantly we supply Alliance product. Alliance are the largest lamb procurement company in the world. And the New Zealand food companies, we supply to the market their premium branded products. So we're not doing the commodity traded stuff. I'm doing 100% grass-fed product, and the premium product from that range is called Tamana. So Tamana is 100% grass-fed. It's finished on chicory, and it's aged for 21 days. It's a new type of sheep. It's the product is going gangbusters, and it has all sorts of different health attributes. It has elevated levels of omega-3, and it's been very well received in the market.
Something that people have been talking about a little bit, and you hear the phrase, kind of catchphrase of grass-fed. Can you talk a little bit about that, pasture-raised, grass-fed, how that impacts your product?
It's another very good question. Grass-fed has become a phenomenon in that the conscious foodie, people that are really wanting to know where their food comes from, are moving away from a grain-based animal just because of the concerns around what has created that grain, where has that grain come from, what sort of fertiliser is going on there. Whereas grass-fed from New Zealand, we don't have any fertiliser, no antibiotics. The product is 100% grass-fed, and there's health attributes obviously that are beneficial to grass-fed product.
Boy, we got a lot of great food, courtesy of you and Chef Mark Greenfield here at Hydra. We are going to dig into this in just a few seconds. One of the elements we really like too with these spotlights we've been doing lately is how you guys are adapting to what's been going on in 2020, and that is with COVID, of course, and trying to make sure that people get the product in different ways. Talk a bit about, I love this 48-hour delivery thing.
Yeah, so we have our Lamb to You business that we developed through COVID, which I guess is the only good thing around COVID really, is that we had to adapt. We'd been wanting to get products to distributors for some time. And the last mile distribution piece is always the most critical and complicated. So we came up with Lamb to You, and we're offering this delicious Tamana product, all of our grass-fed lamb and venison, direct to consumers now, where we're delivering to people in the greater Vancouver area within 48 hours of ordering on our website.
Well, the executive culinary director and head chef and all-round big shot kind of great guy, Chef Mark, has now joined us here behind us to talk about, we've talked with Jeff about his product. We're going to talk to you now about what you've done with said product here at Hydra.
Yeah, well, as you guys know, Hydra really prides itself on having the best Mediterranean food in Vancouver. And part of that cooking style is really finding the best quality ingredients and treating them fairly simply. In the Tamana lamb, I think we've really found one of the world's greatest lamb products. We use the leg of lamb as well as the racks and chops. We prepare them pretty simply, just the Mediterranean classics of garlic, olive oil, lemon juice, and some fresh herbs. And the product stands for itself. It's amazing. And we've got both smaller plates and the rack of lamb for individual diners or safer dining now, as well as larger items like the leg of lamb that are great when we can gather together again and share with family.
Tell us a little bit about why the Tamana lamb has a better flavor profile.
What's really nice about this lamb is that it's got a mild, delicate flavor that, we can still put some high heat on it and get really good caramelization and char on it on the grill, but the flavor itself really takes whatever we put on it. So usually we just do a nice brush with rosemary, oregano, and fresh thyme, and we drag that through a little bit of olive oil and roasted garlic and brush that on the meat as it's cooking, and that's really all it needs to stand out.
Yeah, and Jeff, you were mentioning that it's when it's cured or when it's prepared, they do something special too.
Yeah, so the Tamana is aged for 21 days, and what has happened with that, that's just not a number that we've pulled out of the hat. That is a number that science has delivered around the optimum time to deliver the most tender tasting lamb. So the Tamana is finished on chicory, which is a high-end herb, for the last 30 days of its life, which gives it that tender taste that Mark is talking about. So in terms of a lamb on the taste profile, Tamana is very mild. It's like the Wagyu of beef. It's commonly referred to as that.
Very nice. And we've been holding off sampling, which we are going to do as soon as we finish filming here. Hey, Jeff Finn, he's been part of our New Zealand Spotlight, the ongoing series we've been doing throughout 2020 and into 2021. Thank you. It's New Zealand Food Company, and a division of that is Lamb to You. We're about to try some great lamb, and thanks to Chef for having us here, and Claire at Hydra. Come check them out. Great spot. We should also mention you have a lovely cafe downstairs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the things that go perfectly with the lamb are spread out here. One of my favorite salads, of course, Mark put out. Thank you.
Yeah,
Can't wait
excellent.
to dive into that. But we also want to mention, too, where Lamb to You delivers.
Yes, we should say delivers to Vancouver, Richmond, Burnaby, Coquitlam, Surrey, White Rock, Langley. We will have all the information in the end credits, as we always do. Their website will also put up some great lamb recipes from the Lamb to You website. Jeff Thin, Chef Mark, Hydra, thank you guys. Let's all dig in now. Well, we're still here at Tutor, but we're not talking food for the moment. Boy, those appetizers look good, though.
Oh, they sure did. But I didn't dig in.
Well done. We are still here, though, as we mentioned, but we're going to talk movies. We haven't done this in a long time, but over this last couple of weeks with the holidays, heading into the new year, of course, people are consuming more and more product on TV, home viewing. We've also got some options for theater. Yeah, theater, but we'll have to see what happens with that. But anyway, you want to talk about a couple of big ones that people may have missed, but how could they?
Oh, well, what's on everybody's tongue, and if you've missed it somehow, not sure how, unless you don't have Netflix, Queen's Gambit. Now, that is a story of chess prodigy and orphan Beth Harmon, played by Anya Taylor-Joy. You may remember her from that very spooky indie Sundance film, The Witch. Very, very interesting looks. She also had a little role in Peaky Blinders as well. You might remember her from there, but very distinguishable. Now, the story is inspired by real life events. It is fictional, though, from the great novel by Walter Tevis. It follows Beth as she rises up in the chess field against all odds. Addiction, emotional trauma. Absolutely, this movie's for chess lovers, novices, experts alike. It really is on everybody's favorite list right now.
You were talking about it the other day, and you were saying that it's also inspiring a whole new generation of young girls to take up this,
yes,
this classic.
Well, and everyone's dusting off their chess sets. And interesting, I heard a little note that chess sets are sold out pretty much everywhere. So it has reinstilled this fabulous game. But speaking of kings and queens,
nice lead.
The Crown, definitely in its fourth season. Apparently, lots of surprises. Making my way through that particular series as well. I want to note, though, the Queen's Gambit is 7 episodes. Really easy to binge watch, but also the fourth season of The Crown. And I'm just going to do a little shout out to Ozark, all the Ozark fans. There has been a confirmed fourth season coming up, and we're looking forward to that. They don't know exactly when yet, but Ozark has captured so many people as well.
Well, okay, so Queen's Gambit is your choice for home viewing. My pick by a country mile is the new Tom Hanks movie called News of the World. I am a massive Western fan. It goes back to like movies from the 30s. I love the simplicity of Westerns, and I know you love Westerns too, and you and I have often talked about how they're just simple. It's A to B to C. Hanks' new movie, which is also directed by the legendary Paul Greengrass, the only director, back when I was a full-time critic, the only director to have 2 movies in my top 10 of the first decade of the 21st century, that being Bloody Sunday and United 93. This is a change of pace for him, and this is an interesting story. It takes place just shortly after the Civil War, and Tom Hanks is a reader of the news. He's traveling around the South, Texas, just pulling newspapers out and reading them for people to catch up on what's going on, especially after the Civil War. But he encounters a young girl who's an orphan. She's of German descent, but has somehow ended up in one of the native tribes. And they've taken her, and he decides to take on the job of taking her back to her only remaining German relatives. This young girl, Helena Zengel, is fabulous. I love this movie. This reminded me of the classic movie, The Searchers, John Ford movie, if you're a Western fan. My only regret is I couldn't see it on the big screen, but spectacular film. We should also mention more home viewing. One that you and I watched because we were attracted by the director, and that's John Patrick Shanley. The guy's won a Tony, Pulitzer, and Oscar. He was the guy behind Moonstruck. Let's talk a little bit about Wild Mountain Thyme, and that's Thyme movie set in Ireland, Lita.
Jim and I are a little torn on our thoughts on this. I did find it a little bit cliche. The first thing came to mind was Hallmark, but that's actually a good thing.
Big audience for Hallmark movies.
Very much, and it was light, fun, predictable, maybe good for these times.
Yeah, you and I are both saying about the cast. Jamie Dornan from 50 Shades, also Emily Blunt, John Hamm from Mad Men, Chris Walken, and as we said, John Patrick Shanley, the director. You're right. It's very Hallmark. It's maybe for people who think Richard Curtis, the guy behind Love Actually and Four Weddings and a Funeral, you find that too serious. This is a little far different. Set in Ireland, love story, but if you're looking for something very light and predictable, but distraction, I think we used to call that.
Definitely, and Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken, yeah, it's Wild Mountain Time. We should say that is available on. It was available 2 weeks ago on video on demand and premium digital, and of course you mentioned Queen's Gambit and The Queen on Netflix.
The Crown.
The Crown too, yeah. So anyway, enjoy the movies. We'll continue to offer you some insights throughout 2021.
There's some good ones coming up.
That's right. Actually, let's get back to more of Our City Tonight. Well, we're back here at Tutor Restaurant and Bar. Of course, Lita checked out some appetizer samples, and now we're back here with some main courses that we're going to get into in a few seconds. But Andrea, I've known you a long time. You have certainly made your presence known in some of the great restaurants here in town. Let's talk a bit about the food scene in Vancouver in your 2 decades. Obviously, it's improved. It's become more sophisticated. Give us a little taste from what you think.
Yeah, well, I think it's my 4th decade in this business.
I said a couple. Okay.
I think I've been in it since I was 14, and I won't tell you how old I am. But anyways.
You look 27, that's okay.
But no, the great thing about Vancouver is, it's a cultural mosaic. So you have different restaurants opening every couple of years, right? And we want to be here for a long time, and we felt there was a bit of a void in Thai restaurants. We're not just a pizza and pasta joint.
Yeah.
We have some great entrees here as well, which Chef John Wells has created. But yeah, Vancouver is always evolving. There's some great talented chefs in this community, and there's a lot of passion in our industry, and it's an amazing. I wouldn't want to do anything else.
And you clearly do well at what you do, sir. So we're going to move on now to the food. You talk about what chef is doing. Let's start with this lovely dish, which I know Lita has been circling around over the last little while.
So yeah, obviously squid ink spaghetti. This is one of John's amazing dishes that I personally think is fantastic. We call it linguine di mare. And that is a collage of different seafood. We have some, you can see some scallops, mussels, there's some clams, shrimps as well. Amazing dish. And then the bistecca we have here, a lovely ribeye steak. He does a great job with that. So, we, again, going back to our name, Tuto, you can have everything here.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, we always ask the chefs about this, about getting complacent. I mean, you've been around the scene a long time, as we've alluded to several times, about making sure that the menu is constantly, all the time, but changing, adding things, taking things out. Is that something that you're kind of always conscious of?
Yeah, absolutely, but it's reversed. We actually do it, we hold the chefs back a little bit because they want to, we have usually 3 to 4, sometimes 5 additions to the menu every night. And we try to tell the chefs, let's try to keep it to 3 because, table side, the customer will probably, get lost after the 4th edition. So, they push the envelope, absolutely.
And one of the things that Lita and I have been talking to restaurateurs and GMs and chefs a lot about in 2020 and into 2021, of course, is safety precautions. You and I are standing far apart. You've got partitions between all the tables. Talk a little bit about the protocol for you guys here, for people that are watching that want to stay safe or want to come check out your great restaurant.
Absolutely. It's safety is always first and foremost. You mentioned the partitions. Even before we set up the restaurant in the early afternoon, we sanitize every surface. So we set every single table in the room from scratch. We take temperature checks with our staff. We have the staff come in intervals every 15 minutes. So we really try to minimize distance, personal space. And of course, we have our guests come in with wearing a mask, and all the staff do wear masks.
Good to hear, buddy. And we're here filming at the late lunch hour, and the place is packed. So word has obviously gotten out about Tutor Restaurant Bar, corner of Smythe and Homer. We will come back here to wrap the show up and talk a little wine with Andrea at the end of the show here on Our City Tonight. Okay, getting ready to wrap up the show, but before we do, a few more words from Andrea, and I noticed we got a lot of wine on the table. We are, of course, distancing. We can't leave without talking about wine.
Yeah, and Andrea, for as long as we've known you, you've been a top sommelier in some of the finest restaurants here in Vancouver. So inevitably, you've got a great wine program here at Tutor. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, obviously Tutor means everything in Italian, and of course, just like our menu, we offer some great dishes from all over the world. And particularly from Italy, every region, and that translates into our wine program. So we represent every region that Italy has to offer, from the Piedmont region all the way to Sicily. We're always going to have a good mix of local wines from the Okanagan Valley, and a little bit something from France, and just countries that we really like to drink ourselves. And let's talk
a little bit about what we've got specifically here on the table.
Yeah, so San Leonardo, a classic Bordeaux blended wine from northern Italy. Again, we're seeing things, from the north. And then we have a lovely Tuscan wine, IGT. It's a nice blend of Cab, Merlot, a little bit of Syrah there as well. And the big boy there is a...
the party size.
Yeah, a Purple Angel. It's always a fun wine from Chile. So although our wine focus is Italy, we still like to represent some other countries as well. So it's a lot of fun.
Hey, it's been great working with you again. We go way back with you. Of course, I first met you when we were in Venice on a media trip.
That's right.
11 years ago.
That's right, 11 years ago. What a trip that was.
Yeah, sure was. Great trip. Anyway, thank you for hosting us here today. Come check out Tutor at the corner of Smythe and Homer. I'm Jim Gordon.
And I'm Lita Leapins.
We'll see you on the next edition of Our City Tonight. Outdoor wear for Jim and Lita, provided by Helly Hansen. Alive since 1877.
Youngblood Mineral Cosmetics provided by Soluzione Spa Products.